Do we really have a free will? This is the topic that I want to discuss, and this topic really fascinates me for a lot of reasons, and I'm going to explain why it fascinates me. Imagine like you are standing in front of a coffee shop or you are in front of a bookstore. You glance at the menu or you glance at the books, and for a few seconds you think, let's suppose in case of the coffee shop, you think that coffee or tea, and finally you decided that I will have a coffee. It feels like a completely free decision, right? But here's the question that has fascinated philosophers, psychologists, neuroscientists for centuries. Did you really choose it, or did your brain actually make the decision before you become aware of it? This question lies at the heart of one of humanity's oldest debate, that do we really have a free will? For thousands of years, philosophers have argued about whether humans are truly free to choose their actions. Some believe that every decision is the result of previous causes, and those previous causes are like biology. It can be a biological cause, that can be an environmental cause, or if you put it in this way, like anything or everything that happened around you cause you to make those decisions, right? But in 1980, neuroscience entered this conversation. A scientist named Benjamin Libet designed an experiment that would become one of the most discussed in neuroscience. Participants were asked to perform a very simple task. Whenever they felt like it, they would flex a finger or press a button. At the same time, Benjamin recorded their brain activity using EEG electrodes, and participants also watched a rapidly moving clock and reported the exact moment they became consciously aware of their decision to move. The results were really surprising. The brain showed a measurable burst of activity, which we can call the readiness potential, about half a second before the movement occurred. And even more surprising was the result that the participants reported becoming consciously aware of their intention to move roughly 200 milliseconds before the action. In other words, if I put it, the brain's preparation appeared to begin before people consciously felt they had decided. This finding sparked enormous debate. Some researchers interpret it as evidence that the unconscious brain initiates action first, while the conscious awareness arrives later. If that's true, what does the conscious choice actually play? Does consciousness make decisions, or does it simply observe decisions already underway? However, I would like to mention that the story does not end there. Many scientists believe that the experiment done by Benjamin has important limitations. First of all, the task was very simple. Choosing when to wiggle a finger is very different from deciding whether to change a career, deciding whether to change a girlfriend, whether to change your car, and in worst case scenario, like whether to forgive someone or help another person in the most ideal cases. So the limitations are also in terms of, like, when we think about the real life decisions, it involves the emotions, it involves the memories, it involves the value, it involves attachment, it involves planning, and it also involves the social reasoning. So these processes, and then these all of these things combine together, and it take to for the decision, it takes a longer period. So some researchers also argue that the readiness potential that the Benjamin recorded may not represent a decision itself. Instead, it could reflect normal background fluctuations in brain activity that make a moment more likely, rather than proving that the decision has already been made. Even the Benjamin Libet himself did not conclude that free will was an illusion. He actually proposed that although unconscious brain activity may begin preparing action, consciousness might still possess what he called a veto. In other words, your brain may start preparing to act, but you still have the ability to stop yourself before the action occurs. And even the most fascinating aspect is when the psychologists talk about this particular question. So they mention in this way, like many of our daily behaviors are automatic, right? We drive familiar routes without thinking. We finish the common sentences before hearing the final word. We instinctively reach out to our phone when it vibrates. And much of what we do like happens before or below the conscious awareness. And yet, humans also demonstrate remarkable self-control. Like we can resist the temptation. We can reflect on our mistakes. We can reflect on our decisions. We can imagine the future consequences. We can deliberately choose goals that conflict with our immediate impulses. So, what I think is this ability to monitor and regulate our own behavior is one reason many psychologists argue that conscious control remains an important part of decision making. And when it comes to the modern neuroscience, it paints even a more complex picture. Rather than like searching for a single free will center in the brain, researchers now understand decision making as the result of many interactive networks. So they now understood that, like in terms of the modern neuroscience, like the prefrontal cortex helps with planning and self-control. If you think about the basal ganglia, it contributes to action selection. The limbic system influences the emotion and motivation. Memory system, it provides the past experience. Attention determines which information receives priority. Every decision emerging from this dynamic conversation among billions of neurons. So the question again remains, like, do we really have a free will? So if we think about it in a scientific way, the honest answer is we don't know yet. And neuroscience has also revealed that unconscious brain processes contribute far more to our decision than we once imagined. That's the progress now. So, but it has not been demonstrated that conscious choice is meaningless. Instead, the evidence suggests that human decision making is a partnership between the unconsciousness processing and conscious reflection. And maybe perhaps free will is not a simple on or off switch. Perhaps it exists on some kind of spectrum. Perhaps our brain continuously generates possibilities while consciousness evaluates, modifies, change, and sometimes reject them. The debate remains open, and that may be the most fascinating conclusion of all. The next time I will suggest you, if you feel in this way, like do we really have a free will, and if you are choosing something, pause for just a moment and ask yourself that, did I choose this or did my brain choose it first? And if your brain made the decision, then who exactly is you? Just think about it. Thank you.